Point number one, that other countries seem to have bought the same drones at lesser price than India is paying. He's quoting what's happened in Australia, what's happened in Belgium, what's happened in Spain, what's happened in France, Italy. These are countries that have bought these drones. A simple calculation suggests that they seem to have bought the drones at a much cheaper price, $3072 million, which is about, which is $3 billion, has been mentioned, leading the Congress to wonder, Abhijit Iyer, whether dal mein kuch kala hai.
Right. Thanks, Rahul. So, the first thing I want to, which you already pointed out, is that all the figures being quoted are only quoted by the press. The government statement has said nothing, neither has the American government or the Indian government stated a price. Now, let's talk about the quoted price, say about $3.5 to $4 billion. Now, if you notice in the breakup that my co-panelist just gave, notice how wildly those prices vary. The lowest he quoted was some $12 to $15 million and the highest was something like $56 million. Why is this? Because the platform, the additional systems development, and the payload all cost different things. So, sometimes the payloads can be twice the price of the platform. Sometimes the price of the special, the country-specific developments can be 2-3 times the price of the platform. Right? Now, let's look at specifically what we know from the public record about the India-specific modifications, and I'm just talking about what I've managed to collect with open source. The first is that the drone uses the same Garrett TPE-331. It's now a Honeywell TPE-331 that the Dornier aircraft uses, the engine. Okay, there are a few more blocks that have been added to it by Honeywell. So it is already using a domestically manufactured engine with some more inputs from Honeywell that will be integrated onto this drone. Okay, next, what has happened is, you saw that a lady entrepreneur who was sitting, Brinda Kapoor, I think, who was sitting next to Satya Nadella, who was sitting next to Biden at that state lunch or dinner or whatever it was. That was for a whole bunch of highly sensitive payload systems, including a gigapixel camera, which will take several years to integrate, and those are very, very expensive processes to integrate in there. Okay. Now, I want you to refer to Chapter 1, Para 29G of the Defense Procurement Manual for 2020, okay, which is the buyer-nominated equipment. And I will read this out if you give me a minute. Aero engines and fabrication plants, paragraph G. Aero engines and fab, in brackets, facilities manufacturing silicon wafers, need to be taken up as projects of national importance. Aero engines and fab manufactured in India will mandatorily be procured for applicable defense equipment as buyer-nominated equipment / sub-assemblies. These procurements will not be considered as single vendor cases, which means it has to be part of a much larger complex procurement. You're not going to buy the engine offhand like that. So one thing is that we know that the current TPE-331 will have to be upgraded to the level of the Predator drone. The next thing is the India-specific payloads will have to be integrated into it. The third thing which we know, which has been put out in the joint statement, and I will read the relative part of the joint, sort of applicable part of the joint statement, will enhance the ISR capabilities, this is paragraph 16, will enhance the ISR capabilities of India's armed forces across domains. As part of this plan, General Atomics will also establish a comprehensive global maintenance, repair and overhaul facility in India to support India's long-term goals. Global MRO, please note, that means all of Asia, all the General Atomic MQ-9s operating in the Asia Pacific will come here for MRO facilities. Okay, all of this adds to the cost. Integration sometimes adds 2-3 times to the cost. So again, it's very curious that my colleague brought up the incredible variations in price of each country.
He's also questioning why the deal didn't go before the CCS. Why is it that just on the back of what the Defense Acquisition Council said, where it accorded the acceptance of necessity, that this deal has been announced in principle in a joint statement to the US without going to the CCS? They're questioning that.
Absolutely. So, very important question. The point is, it goes to the CCS after the entire process is complete and price negotiations are complete. Again, if you read the DPP, that's what comes out. If you read, again, paragraph 16, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi welcomed India's plan, no contract, to procure the General Atomics MQ-9. Now, let me tell you what has happened so far. The Defense Acquisition Committee has recognized the AON, that is the acceptance of necessity. As of now, it is just India needs this. Now an RFP will be floated.
No, he says, why can't it be through a tender? Why does it need to be a government-to-government contract?
Because the tender comes after this. This is where the requirement for the RFP gets floated after this.
No, but he says you already decided that you're buying the Predator. Then what's the point of the tender?
This is the main this thing. So this is the preferred acquirer. In the RFP, if somebody gives you a better specs and things like that,
but you've already put in the joint statement that we are buying it from the US.
No, we have not. Again, let me read out the statement to you. President Biden and Prime Minister Modi, I'm quoting, welcomed India's plans to procure the General Atomic MQ-9B. There is no contract. The RFP will still be floated. This is how it goes. The DAC determines the acceptance of necessity. Then the RFP is floated. Quotes will be provided. Down selection will happen. Price negotiations will begin. They will then go to the CCS for the final approval.